Alright, so I'm Nick, and this is Will from Average Player Radio. So we're here with the creative director from Borderlands 2.
Hi.
So, sorry, what was your name?
Paul Helquist.
Okay, so we're with Paul, and we had some questions. We just got to play the new game, and we're fans, huge fans of the old game. We probably poured like 200 hours into that game together.
That's awesome.
I sat on his couch.
We did the whole thing split screen. Yeah. So is split screen going to be available for this game too?
Absolutely, yep.
Still 2 players?
2 player split screen, and you'll also be able to go online and play with friends online while you're playing.
Alright, awesome. So a lot of criticism from the first game was the ending. So we personally didn't mind it at all, yeah. But I mean, there were a lot of fans that seemed to be upset with the ending of the first game. So are you going to focus more on the story in this game?
Absolutely. Yeah, our story, we've spent a lot of time on the story. That was something from the very get-go. We heard the criticisms loud and clear, and wanted to make sure that the sequel rectified all those issues.
And one thing you just brought up, we love the DLCs too, but there was the one, the Nox's Armory. Are you going to include fast travel within the DLC?
We're not really talking about DLC plans. That was just sort of a technical hurdle that we couldn't overcome in the first game.
Yeah, okay. So just like, in general, it was just like the big area. I remember just going the miles in the cars to get to like Cromer. So what else? So are Claptrap and Marcus both back in this game?
Yep, a lot of your favorite characters from the first game will be back. Claptrap's highly involved in what you're doing during the course of the game. You'll get to do a bunch of missions with him. Yeah, fan favorites like Marcus, Scooter, Patricia, Tanis, like a lot of those fan favorites are back, and we have a bunch of new NPCs that are new to Borderlands 2 that are also a lot of fun.
I have a little question. So when we were playing the game, there was a quest. The quest that we were on, there seemed to be a moral choice in there, whether you gave the pictures to Moxie or you gave them to Marcus. Is there kind of a split storyline depending on what choices you make in the game?
There isn't really what I would call a branching storyline, but the mission that you played is an example of some of the new types of choices that you'll have during the course of the mission. And in this case, it's sort of do you give Marcus the pictures back, or do you bring them back to Moxie so she can do whatever she wants to do with them? And you'll get different rewards depending on who you return the quest to.
Alright. Is the game still on Pandora, or is it somewhere else?
Yep, we're still on Pandora. We're just exploring new continents and new regions of Pandora. We didn't want people to think that Pandora was only desert areas.
Yeah, no, I like that. I thought it looks very different from the old game.
So from what we saw, there seems to be a swampy zone. Is there different areas? Is there still a desert? Is there a mountain area?
Yeah, you'll see a little bit of desert again. We didn't want fans to think that we had totally gone off the rails and that was all gone. So you'll see that a little bit. But we have a lot of Arctic regions towards the beginning of the game. And then we also have some sections that are inspired by the Scottish Highlands. So it's a lot of dark, rocky terrain with grassland type spaces. So we've really expanded the variety of the game.
I noticed you had for the different creatures, like, is it going to be the similar like name ranking from the last game? Like you have the badass skags, then is there going to be like a second playthrough again with the same ranking?
The badass creatures was something that we felt really was sort of our thing. So we didn't want to lose that. So the badasses are back, and you guys got to see the Varkid enemy, the sort of mosquito bugs. If you let them, I don't know if you let them, but if you let them get into their cocoons, they start as sort of the small ones, and then they go into their cocoons. They come into adults. If you let the adults go into cocoon, then you get your badass. If you let the badass go into a cocoon, you get a super badass.
That's pretty awesome. How important are the elemental powers in this game, or are they even in this game?
Yes, yeah, the elemental powers are back. We have a new one. You guys might have found a weapon during the course of play called Slag. That's the new element that we've added to the game. And what that does is it amplifies all the damage from any of the other elements. So if you get an enemy covered in slag and then hit them with your fire or your electricity, that damage is significantly increased. So it's a great co-op element because one player can be using slag and sort of setting everyone up, and the other one can sort of finish them off.
I get another question. question. I know we didn't get to play as the new sniper character, but in the trailer I saw that he was using a weapon primarily. Did you guys, because in Borderlands 1, melee became kind of obsolete after the first area. Is there more of a focus on melee in this game? Are there melee weapons you can pick up?
There are no melee weapons that you can pick up, but depending on which class you play, we have some really interesting new melee stuff. Zero is our assassin. He's our sniper. If you want to play him as a sniper, you go down that tree. Or you can play him as a very heavy melee character if you go down a different tree. And he's got some really interesting abilities with that makes his melee extremely powerful. We also have a shield type that's called the melee shield, and it comes from our new bandit manufacturer. And what happens with those is if your shield goes down and you don't have any shield, you get a massive melee bonus damage. So it sort of encourages you when your shield goes down to actually like pull out your you know, sort of get that bandit feel of like the psycho like screaming into the battle. So if you lose your shield to those, you get a big melee bonus. So we have some new abilities and some new skills that focus on melee.
I noticed that for the Gunzerker especially, like the special power definitely seemed to be more powerful and last longer, which was definitely fun.
I was a bit confused by Siren's power. Is that just it locks somebody in a sphere and then you can just get to pump them up with damage?
Yeah, at its base, that's what it does. It sort of allows you to determine which enemy is the biggest threat and sort of take them out of the equation so that you can clean up the little guys. Or you can just get a little guy out of your way so that you can focus on one of the heavier guys. What it also does is it lifts the enemy up sort of above the sort of normal combat level, which allows all your co-op friends to sort of focus their attention on that thing as well. So it's great for badasses. You throw a badass up in the bubble, the whole team can just pummel it before it gets to do its crazy attacks. And then of course our skills dramatically change how that works depending on the skills you spend on.
Is there going to be a horde mode in this game?
We're not talking about any other modes at this time yet.
All right, and are there any other big improvements that you guys were trying to make that you want to point out?
Yeah, you know, the enemy variety we talked about is a big thing. The environment variety, the weapons and gear. You know, I mentioned the shields. The shields bring all kinds of new capabilities that they never had before. Before we had about 2 or 3 different types of shields. This game we have 8 different types of shields. And the grenades, we had about 200 different variations of grenades you could find in the game. We're at about 500,000 different grenades in this game. So we've taken what we did in the guns in the first game and brought all of that to the shields and the grenades and the class mods.
Are Iridian guns or Iridian weapons still going to be in
Yeah, we're calling them E-Tech, and there were some that you got to play. They're the ones that have those sort of fins on them and have lots of different, and they bring all kinds of crazy abilities. So that's where you get your plasma rifles and like all these kinds of, you know, more high-end, weird behaviors of weapons.
Are the Iridian weapons going to have like, can I pick up an Iridian weapon that has caustic damage on it? Because I know the Iridians in the last one, all the Iridians were either shock or caustic. I didn't see any fire Iridians.
Yeah, how it works this time around is the manufacturers have started taking some of that Iridian tech and sort of blending it with their own style. So that's why we call it E-Tech now. And so all the E-Tech weapons, you know, get whatever kind of flavor that those manufacturers have. And yeah, you'll definitely find some that are fire and some that are shock and all those flavors.
Just one more question about the gun manufacturers. Are we going to see any more of them, or like any new ones, or is it just going to be the same old guys?
The one that's new is the Bandit manufacturer. The Bandits of Pandora have now started making their own weapons, and so they have their own style that's more like homemade, rustic kind of feel. And their main thing is huge magazine sizes. That's sort of their main claim to fame.
Alright, so I guess that's it. So thank you very much for your time, for telling us all about Borderlands 2.
All right, thank you.
Thanks. And,